How's it going, everyone? It's Pastor Andrew here, and joining me today is Michael Colon. He works with the city and county. In a moment, I'm going to ask him to share a little bit more of what he does. We are joining us here today. The reason why you're watching is this is part of our COVID survival toolkit. And today we're going to be talking about what can I do, what can't I do in the midst of the coronavirus. And today Michael's going to do his best to answer that question. What can I do? What can't I do? And so, Michael, without any further ado, could you just introduce yourself and let us know who you are, what you do for the city?
Hi, aloha everybody. How's it going? My name is Michael Colon. I am a social media manager at the City and County of Honolulu. I do public communications, and COVID-19 has been my life for the past 2-3 some weeks. And so I've gotten a lot of people asking questions about COVID-19. I've been doing my best to help people navigate their way through all of this madness in this unprecedented situation. And so here I am to do my best to answer questions.
So what are some of the, I guess in the midst of all of COVID-19 and all that we're dealing with, there's a mandate or a mandate from the city that the mayor made. Can you explain to us what that is? And for us personally, what does that mean for the average person? And what does it mean for us?
All right, perfect. Well, before I get into all of that, I do want to say that, one, I am not a lawyer, so do not consider any of this legal advice. This is simply my best to sort of show guidelines for how to live during all of this. Yeah. So don't take any of the things that I say with legal weight. This is merely just sort of a broad overview, things that you can possibly do. And two, if you have any questions, you can visit oneoahu.org/FAQS. Okay. So oneoahu.org/FAQS. Basically, it's our frequently asked questions. Oneoahu.org is our city website dedicated to COVID-19 on Oahu. And the FAQs, frequently asked questions, a lot of people have been asking questions, very similar to probably the things we're going to discuss here today. And so if you have any questions, you can visit that website, see if it's been answered there. And if it hasn't, the city has a hotline, 768-CITY. That's 768-CITY. You dial that in and you'll be able to speak to somebody who will be able to answer your question. And Pastor Andrew, I believe, says that he will have all of that in the description below, right?
Below. It's going to be right there. You can click on it.
Yes, perfect. So the order and what does that mean for us here on Oahu? If you go to oneoahu.org, you can actually read the order for yourself. There have been a couple, little changes to it over the last week or so, just as certain situations and questions have arisen, and we realized that, with the order, the stay at home, work at home order being sort of a broad stroke over our community, some of the more refined details have had to come out over the last few days. But what does stay at home, work at home mean for us?
Yes.
Basically, that means that if you're not doing an essential activity and if you're not working for an essential business, you should stay at home. In fact, you need to stay at home.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, we need to slow the spread. We need to stop the spread of this virus. So what do some of the essential activities and businesses look like for us? Well, basically, if you're going out shopping to get groceries, that's okay. If you're going outside to exercise, walk around your neighborhood, go for a jog, that's okay, as long as it's within permitted areas. If the place is closed, you can't jog or walk there, obviously. If you're going to work because you work for an essential business, that's okay. If you're going to take care of a family member, that's okay. If you're going to visit the doctor, that's okay. Those are some of the broad strokes across the board. Otherwise, you should be staying at home because we need to slow the spread of this virus.
So how do I know if I'm part of this essential workforce? Is there any rule of thumb that I should know about, or just go to the FAQ? What would you recommend, and how would I know?
Yeah, so the FAQ is a great resource. The emergency order itself is a great resource. Kind of the quick and broad overview of it all is if you work for a grocery store, if you work for a restaurant, as long as you're doing takeout, these are some of the essential businesses. If you work for a financial institution, that's deemed essential. If you do construction or engineering of things of that sort, that's also deemed essential. Essential infrastructure is what it says in the order. If you're doing medicine, of course, you're very essential
Yes.
to the situation. Doctors, nurses, everything up and down. If you work for if you work sort of as part of if you work as part of a company that helps to allow these essential businesses operate. So for example, if you do delivery, that's okay. If you work working for the post office, that's essential business as well. A lot of the city is deemed essential business because the city can't shut down. The city and county still needs to take care of our island. So a lot of workers have been deemed essential, but a lot of them have also been working from home, which comes back around to sort of the heart of the order, the core thing, which is if you can stay home, you should be at home. If you can work at home, you should be at home. If you need to do any of these essential activities, if you need to go for a jog because of health, if you need to go pick up groceries from the store, do those things and then go right back home, because we don't want people to be out. We need to stop the spread of this virus.
So when you say these things are because it's essential, it's okay to do, like go to the grocery store, go out for a jog. I've just been hearing different things, and this is where I wanted to ask you some questions just so that we get some clarity. So you're saying that I can say go to Costco or Sam's Club, and that's okay. Is that what
Yes.
you're saying? Even though there's so many people there, there's more people there than that would gather at a park. So how do I know that I'm keeping social distancing when I'm in a large area for an essential errand?
Yeah, that's a good question. So first, there have been a number of businesses who have been instituting social distancing guidelines in their businesses, whether it's taping lines on the floor to make sure they separate customers, or even only allowing a certain number of people into their shop at a time. Businesses have been implementing that, which has been very nice. For you, for me, as a person, how can I practice social distancing? A good way to think about it is 2 arm lengths away. That's sort of and plus change. If you're an arm length, if you stick your arm out and another person sticks their arm out, give it a little bit of space between those 2 fingertips. That's about 6 feet. That's social distancing. Now, with all of that being said, that doesn't give an excuse necessarily for being out to do non-essential activities. But when you are doing these essential activities, when you are at the grocery store, you should try to keep your space. You should try to wash your hands, hand sanitizer, your hands as you're going around to make sure that the things that you touch are clean. One thing my wife and I have been doing, just because sometimes you don't know if a person may have sneezed into their hand and then touched a product that you then put into your cart. We carry wipes in our car that we then wipe down after we purchase the product. We have hand sanitizer that we use before or after to make sure that our hands stay clean throughout that whole process. One thing that the mayor actually said this past week is asking people to wear masks when they're out in public. So what does that do? We ask people to wear cloth masks, especially homemade cloth masks. We don't want people to go out wearing surgical masks, medical masks. We don't want people to go out wearing N95 masks, because all of those are resources that our first responders, that our medical practitioners, they need the most, because they're the ones who are actually working with COVID patients. They need the most protection. So they need those surgical masks and they need those N95 masks. But for me or you, If you have an old t-shirt, you can cut it up and put it into a mask, or you could just tie it around your face.
Yeah.
What does that do? It isn't necessarily going to protect you from catching the virus. However, what it is going to do is it is going to prevent you from spreading and potentially spreading the virus. So let's say I'm walking around and I have this on and I cough or I'm breathing or whatever, all of those that mucus particles, it's going to get caught in the t-shirt, and that's going to prevent it from getting spread onto surfaces that other people might touch. It'll prevent, you know, myself from touching my face, which is essentially how the virus gets spread. We touch an infected surface, then we touch our nose or our mouth or our eyes or things like that. So the mayor did give a strong recommendation. He didn't mandate it, but he gave a strong recommendation that when people are out in public, that they wear a homemade mask or some sort of cloth mask covering. A lot of people on Instagram have been making them nowadays. A lot of people have been sewing them. You can look up guides online on how to make one that don't require sewing or anything of that sort. And we do highly encourage people to wear masks when they're out in public, because I think that at this point, the way that the virus works is that you can be contagious even if you don't have symptoms. Even if you're breathing normally, even if you're not sneezing or coughing, even if you know your body feels normal, you could potentially still have the virus. And so the way that we've been trying to operate is, just imagine you have the virus and everybody else around you have the virus, and be cautious in that sort of way. Now, that doesn't mean to walk around afraid of everybody. Rather, means that you should walk around, you know, just wearing a mask because you don't want to get other people sick if in case you have it. You know, don't go touching surfaces and then touching your face if in case other people have it. We just need to be cautious. We just need to be safe, at least for now, because really the way this thing operates, you know, you can have it even if you don't show symptoms. So we need to be extra careful, washing our hands extra often, using hand sanitizers extra often.
So I had a question. So I'm hearing what you're saying is you want us to wear masks because, or the mayor is asking that we wear masks because we may have the symptoms and we may unknowingly spread it to other people. I guess one of the things that I really want to do is just ask real practically, from the time I leave my house, I'm going to do an essential errand, like going to the grocery store or going to get gas. What are some of the things from the time I leave my house to the time I get to the gas station or get to Costco or Sam's Club or the grocery store, then I come back? What should be a routine that you would recommend that we do so that we don't spread this virus?
Well, one, wash your hands and use hand sanitizers, you know, whether, you know, you're just about to leave the house, or maybe I keep a bottle of hand sanitizer in my car that I'll use before I start driving. And, you know, when I first jump into my car, or, you know, just before I leave my car, things like that. I keep Clorox wipes in my car. Sometimes I'll wipe down my steering wheel because there's, you know, heaps of germs. You never think about cleaning your steering wheel. I'll wipe down my phone. You never think about wiping down your phone. Those are sort of, you know, the day-to-days. Now, let's say you're going to a gas station practicing these things. Leave your house, you get into your car, you know, you wipe down your hands. If you have a cloth mask, put that bad boy on when you're walking out the door. You know, get into your car. You can drive with the mask on. You can drive without the mask on, especially if you're by yourself. You know, but when you step out of your door, you know, put the mask on. You know, do the thing at the gas pump. You know, fill up your car with gas. You know, get back into your car after you're finished. Hand sanitize because you don't know who may have been touching those surfaces. You know, start your car, get back home. You know, get into your house, mask off. Maybe wash your hands again if you want to. Again, not a medical professional, just a communications guy. But these are sort of the things that I've been doing myself. And sometimes even just if I see some hand sanitizer at a place, yeah, I'll use it. You know, just because you never really know. You always want to be careful.
And with these practices, do you see us making a difference? Do you see us starting to flatten the curve? Do you feel like more people should be doing this? Where do you think we're at right now on April 5th, 2020? And maybe that will help us to encourage more, either encourage more people or to keep doing what we're doing. What would you say as far as April 5th, 2020? Where are we right now?
You know, as of today, we are seeing numbers rise for people who have tested positive.
Okay.
And part of the reason is because there's been more testing that's been getting done. So naturally, more tests, more positive results. A lot of people, or I think there are people who are walking around with the virus that we don't exactly know. And that's part of the reason why we're doing so much more testing. And that's part of the reason why we're enacting all of these orders and measures. Because at the end of the day, we don't know. How are we doing on the grand scheme of things? I think that Hawaii's, especially Oahu, we've been doing a pretty solid job. If you look at places like California, they were worse off than we were. By the time they started their stay-at-home order, and Hawaii, we were just a handful of cases into it when we started our stay-at-home order. So kind of comparatively, they were further down the road when they started these measures. We were further back. And so our numbers haven't gone up, to the numbers that we've seen there, which is, really a blessing and a great thing.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of people, personally, I've seen a lot of people in our community respond well to these measures. I think that people wanted to see action being taken. And thankfully, our lawmakers, our civic leaders have been taking action. My boss being one of them, who've really been outspoken about, these safety measures, these safety mandates, because at the end of the day, the sooner we act, the slower the spread is. And yeah, I've been, going around and I see people all the time now wearing masks, and it's just been a couple days since my boss gave that strong recommendation. I think it was Thursday when he gave that recommendation. I had to go into the office today, even though it's a Sunday, to do some work things. And while we're driving over there, I saw 3 elderly folks who are going for their walk and they were wearing masks, and people have been receptive to this type of thing. I think that Oahu really feels the weight of it. And thankfully, even though our trajectory is, going up slowly, I think that we're overall doing well as a community. Now, I can't forecast this virus. I don't think anybody can forecast this virus. We just kind of have to take it a week at a time, a day at a time. But with regards to how the community's been responding to this, it's been incredible. And I think that at the end of the day, that's the way to stop this thing. The whole community working together to love our community, to love our neighbor by, unfortunately, socially distancing, and to, wear masks and wash our hands and things of that sort. So.
Well, thank you, Michael, for sharing all of that. Is there anything else that you could share with us, that things that we need to know that maybe we don't know? I know earlier we had talked about, like, okay, is hiking okay? Going to the beach? Like, how does all that work if the mayor is saying go and get exercise, but all the parks are closed? So maybe for those who are watching, how would you respond to that?
Mm-hmm. So a lot of people have asked, me personally, can I still go hiking? Can I still go to the beach and things like that? Legally speaking, the city hikes that you get through city parks have been closed because city parks are closed. Some state hikes have been closed, but a lot of them have still been open. Going to the beach, the city has closed down the parks to access to get into the beach, but the beach side is run by the state. And as of today, April 5th, the state says, the beach, the water is still open. But we urge people that if they go to the beach, only do so for exercise, only do so, if you're going like swimming or surfing, only do so if you're doing fishing, because some people need to fish to provide for their families. But once you're done doing those things, leave and go home, because we need to stop the spread. like there's like the legal side, what can't you do? But at the heart of the matter, whether you can or can't do it doesn't fully matter, because at the end of the day, it's, are we
Yes.
doing our best to slow the spread? Are we doing our best to love our neighbor? Are we doing our best to love our communities and our families by not going out if it's not necessary? Some people have been asking about, can I just go to the beach to lay on the sand and sunbathe? That's besides the point. The point is, you need to stay home. It's temporary discomfort. It really is difficult. It really is difficult. And I think a lot of us are kind of going through this phase of, I think it was Dave Lomas, this pastor at this church in Reality, San Francisco. He put it like this, that a lot of us are going through this sort of phase of grief,
Yeah.
grieving physical contact, grieving life as we knew it. And I think that's something that a lot of us in the community are feeling. But at the same time, we need to remember that the way that we can most actively fight this virus, the way that we can most actively love each other, is by staying home, is by not doing anything that's, you know, not entirely necessary, you know, for our physical bodies, like, you know, getting foods or going to the doctors, like doing those sorts of things. Like as much as possible, just please stay home, because we need to stop the spread. And the sooner we all work together and do this, the sooner we're going to get over this hump. It's temporary discomfort, but please just suck it up for the temporary, because I think we're all eating it right now. You know, like, even though I still need to go to work, my life is still not the same. I went to my parents' house on Friday, and I wasn't really able to hang out with them. I wore a mask the entire time because they're all at home and I have to go to work and see people. I wasn't able to see my niece and my nephew because they're young, and my nephew has asthma, and my sister was concerned about them. Like, everybody is suffering, everybody's sacrificing, but please don't let the sacrifice be in vain.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. You know, the way you're speaking, it almost reminds me of when we were at war in World War II, World War I. You know, the country had to band together, and we had to do something for the greater good. And that's what I hear you saying. And I think there's so many people that are feeling like, how can I take it to the nth degree so that I can still have that normalcy where it's no longer, there's a new normal now. And just the fact that stadiums aren't full, churches aren't full, right? Schools are not full anymore. It's everyone is quarantined at home. It's like you're saying, it's very, very difficult. But what I hear you saying is, for the greater good, if we could take these measures seriously and do our part, if every single one of us does our part, then we can really flatten this curve and really see this thing stopped in Hawaii. Because it's either Hawaii it's a small island that nothing can get in, or if something did get in, then it's not going to be good for us. There's nowhere where we can turn to, right? So I hear what your boss is saying, Mayor Kirk Caldwell, and I hear his heart. And you know, we're praying that that you were telling me earlier that you have lawyers working round the clock, trying to figure out what we can do to make sure that everyone's doing what they're supposed to be doing, and in the midst of not fully knowing what we're dealing with on the city side, on the government side. So thank you, Michael, for sharing your heart. And if you have any questions, the links are down below. You can click on those links for the FAQ link, or you can call the city and you can ask them the questions of, can I do this? Can't I do this? And the city, from what I hear from Michael, has been working extremely hard to make sure that we're going to stop this thing and we're going to stay ahead of this. But we need everyone, like you and me, to do our part. So thank you, Michael, for joining us for this COVID survival toolkit, where we're talking about what I can and can't do in quarantine, So thank you so much for joining us, Michael. And if you have any more questions, you can either contact us through Metro Hawaii, at Facebook or Instagram, and we want to be here for you. That's why we're doing this. So thank you, everyone, and we will see you later. God bless.